Hello. There's a certain teaching which which explains Neville's concept of being in the feeling of desired fulfilled, right? So what I'm going to teach you right now, this hasn't been taught a lot and it's quite difficult, honestly, to find it on the internet. Many people have complicated manifestation a lot, and I'm quite confident that what I'm going to share with you right now is definitely going to help you a lot because it has helped me as well, right? So, what is the explanation of Neville's state of being, which I'm going to tell you? So the thing is that the problem with us is that we humans are not able to make choices outside our state of consciousness. And what do I mean by that? Let me give you an example, right? My personal example, and I would love to share it with you. So, a few months back, I was, few months back, around 2 months back, I was, um, I didn't had any plan, but I started applying for jobs, right? I was already working in my own business, and I thought of applying for jobs, right? And a sudden plan emerged, and I started looking for jobs. 1 month passed, and I was not able to get any interviews, calls booked, right? My resume was not getting selected, and I started to lose hope. When I started to lose hope, a feeling of lack started emerging within me. Then what happened in the first week of second month, I I was, I don't know, I found a group of friends and I was spending half of day um uh, having fun with them, right? It was a good time. And the half of the day when I was in my setup, I was applying for jobs. So what happened was suddenly the state of lack which I had in the first month, that state of lack disappeared. In my first week, I was not, I didn't care about whether I'm getting my interviews scheduled or not. I was just doing my work, and I was doing my work with the feeling of enjoyment. Let me explain to you more. So, in terms of Gen Z, right? What Gen Z call this, what I mean is being in the vibe, right? So when I was playing with my friends, I was having fun. So at the time, I felt like I was in the vibe. I was feeling awesome. I used to listen to music which made me feel like I'm the best, right? I was vibing with the music, you know. I was already feeling like, no, I have already achieved everything that I wanted in life. I felt like it. I felt like I have already achieved. I have already achieved the job which I wanted. I have already, I'm already successful. The feeling of, w- there's a certain flow state when you immerse yourself, when the environment is so good, you're having fun, and when you immerse yourself in music, right, you're going with the flow of the music, you're feeling absolutely fantastic. And And I was in mountains. I used to listen to music, and I used to expand my hands and just feel the air breeze, right? So the reason I'm giving you these examples is to convey the message that I was having a really great time. I was in the vibe, I was in the flow state, I was in the feeling of feeling fantastic that I have achieved, right? At the time, since I was not really focusing on whether I'll get interviews or not, I used to listen to music and imagine myself that I've received so great, uh, you know, uh, so much great job offer just after graduation that everybody, all of my friends are praising me, and I'm having a great time. I'm feeling like I have a bit of aura, you know. I hope I'm being able to convey. So, that week, I was in that particular state of consciousness. I was in the state of consciousness of being, um, you know, full of opportunities, being successful. Right? I'm already successful, and abundant. I was feeling I was having the fear of abundance. I was not having absolutely any fear. I was not caring about whether I'm going to get interview scheduled or not. I was not caring about I haven't got an interview scheduled. I haven't uh, gotten any, my resume shortlisted in any particular job. I was just having fun. And just for context, right? It's 2026. The job market is very poor. There's absolutely so much competition and so little jobs. But what happened after I achieved that particular state of consciousness, when I start giving, I stopped caring whether what's if whether if anything is even happening or not. When I stopped caring and when I went with the flow, suddenly that particular week, I had 4 interviews scheduled. Four. In that particular one week, let me give you the gravity, right? The job market, if you're not aware, the job market is cooked. There is so much competition. Everybody's looking for jobs. Everybody is, stressed, and because of AI, right? And honestly, I'm from India, right? So in jobs here are, you know like, let me give you some context, right? Most of my, let's assume, the actual number of classmates I had in my college was 75, right? Out of those 75, about 50% only got uh, interview scheduled, and around 50% only got job offers. Rest 50 are not are unemployed at their homes, and the maximum salary which they are getting out of college after graduation is $10,000 per year, right? And that is the package. That package is received by only 3 people, right? The rest are going for $5,000 jobs, right? And so on. The jobs, the interview, the jobs offered, the particular roles for which I got shortlisted. I won't give the number, but that the amount of salary I was getting for a remote job, that was 10 times more than the highest salary package that of my entire class. That was 10 times more for a remote job. I don't know if you're having the gravity of this, right? So what happened? Why I started getting so much opportunities? What happened? When people are struggling, I was getting so many opportunities in just one week. The reason for that was your state of being. That is your state of being. When you are in a state of being of abundance, of opportunities already, you already have the opportunities. It creates a certain it transmits energy out of you, and suddenly you are receiving a lot of opportunities, money and abundance coming towards you. Because see, we are a magnet, right? And whatever we transmit, we receive back the same thing. When we are in the state of abundance, prosperity, when we are confident, feeling joy, right, then we attract the opportunities and scenarios which multiply our own current state of being. And when you are scared, when you are feeling scared, when you are feeling disappointed, right, you are attracting towards yourself lack, lack of opportunities, fear. And what that means is, in my context, when you are not happy, when you are stressed, when you are anxious, then you won't get any opportunities. 1 week, one week gave me 4 interviews. The next week, what happened? I was, I was over the top. I was over the top, right? I was you know, so outstandingly happy that, I have received so many opportunities. Something great might have happened. The next week, I, I don't know what reason, but I started getting anxious that whether I'll be able to crack these opportunities or not. So a feeling of anxiousness came over me, and suddenly, 1 week gave me 4 interviews. The other week, only one interview, and by the third week, zero interviews. My state of being, consciousness was getting so negative, so frustrated that I just multiplied the number of effort I put in my work, but still not even one. I received not even one interviews, not even I was not shortlisted even once. Even though I was putting in twice, thrice, I scheduled everything, right? I was giving in 3 times the efforts which I was giving before, but still I was not receiving any output. So basically, your state of being is a really big thing, and it matters a lot. It decides whether what is going to happen in your life. Now, let's come back to Neville Goddard. Neville Goddard also speaks about your state of being. Be in the state of visual field. But how? How? The state I was in when I was having fun, that state, getting into that state was accidental. When when you're frustrated, when you are scared, when you're frustrated, this certain of feeling of negativity, this certain feeling of sadness, anxiety, it's not that easy to just snap your fingers and change your state of being. It's not that simple. I've been I tried to change my state of being at that time. I was not able to do so. But here comes the secret teaching, right? So so I hope you understand that Neville himself says he even doesn't have the free will to act. His his outputs, the results, the whatever results that come in his own life are all because of his internal state, right? Your business decisions, your financial decisions, your relationship decisions, your health decisions, your daily habits, everything is dependent on your state of being. And if you have a, a an opposite state of being and you're trying to get something else, right? If you're feeling poor and trying to get money, you're not going to get that. It's not possible. Why is it not possible? Because you're not going to take the actions. Even if you take the actions, you won't have the, you know, your mind won't allow you. Your subconscious mind won't allow you. You, when you start a business, you won't be able to take actions. It would be so frustrating for you to take actions that you'll give up. You are controlled by your state, internal state of being. Even Neville says, I don't have the will, I don't have freedom, right? My state, my results, and whatever happens in my life is dependent on my own state of being, internal state. Now, how do we change that? Let's get to the point summary. So, the only way to get to that state of being is by creating temporary states, right? You need to create multiple temporary states. What does it mean, right? It means that you can temporarily assume a new identity right now, even if it's not physically true yet. But you can assume the feeling of being healthy, wealthy, successful, loved, confident, disciplined, financially free. The temporary assumptions create temporary states of consciousness. Well, this is a written paragraph, but what does it mean? See, you need what it means is you need to get a temporary feeling of state of feelings, right? What that means is, like, for example, you have your own playlist. What I do personally, I have a certain curated playlist of my of music that give me a certain feeling, and I've curated that particular playlist in a way that I get the feeling of being successful. The same feeling I get after my business gets super successful, when get super wealthy, the same feeling that I get from listening to my specially curated album of musics, right? Playlist of music, right? So I listen to my music, I just lay down, I just relax and I listen to my music, and I go into that temporary state of feeling. I feel like I am now successful. I'm living the life of prosperity. I'm living the life of wish fulfilled. I have everything that I wanted. I have achieved it. I drive my own BMW. I have my own office. I have my own employees working under me. Right. I get this feeling. I visualize it using that music. I visualize it. I feel it. It's so amazing. And when you are in this temporary state of feeling, you are acting as the version of you that is right now in the visual field. When you are in the feeling of being wealthy, you will be taking the same actions that your version who is currently wealthy would have taken, right? When you cultivate the feeling, you activate the feeling of that you are the healthiest guy, you start taking the actions that the person who is already healthy, that the version of you that is already healthy might take. You start going to gym. When you're feeling financially free, you start taking financial decisions. When you feel like you're a successful businessman, you you confidently take action towards your business, right? So you need to take temporary states. For a few hours you're feeling that you are in the state of wish fulfilled, but after that you are in your normal state, because that is how your brain is trained. You have trained your brain since you were a little kid, that since suppose you have trained your brain that even since you were a little kid, that you are always a loser, right? You can't get, you're poor and you can't get successful at business. Suppose you have trained your brain like that, then what's the what's the step by step way to get out of that particular feeling? The only way to do it is to create temporary states, frequent temporary states. Suppose you are listening to music, you got in that feeling. Now that feeling is so much, you have cultivated so much of that feeling that your facial expression has changed. Now you have super confident, and you start to take actions. Few hours later, 5 6 hours later, now you are again in your state of you, again in your normal state. Then again try to cultivate that temporary state. It doesn't really matter if you get back to your original state. The thing that matters is the frequency of your creation of your temporary states. When you again and again create your temporary states day after day after day, today I feel like I am the best, I am the richest guy in the world. Tomorrow again I felt like this. Tomorrow I again felt like this. Day after day, suddenly when you intentionally start creating, consciously start creating state of being, that you inhabit that state of being, and after multiple repetitions it becomes natural to you. Now when you, after multiple many repetitions, now one day comes when you wake up and you already are in that particular state of being. Now you already see the world in that particular state of being, you already feel in that particular state of being. Now your actions are also aligned in that particular state of being. You start taking actions, you are more confident, you start speaking confidently, you are now healthy, you start taking going to the gym, and your actions change. Now your internal state has been changed for permanently. Again and again you take action day by day, day by day, and what happened? You became successful, you achieved what you wanted, you became fit. That is the secret. That is the secret. No one in this world is able to constantly be in the state of being, right? Nobody alive is able to constantly be in the state of being, right? In the state of desired fulfilled. Nobody is able to do that. But you have the ability to keep trying again and again. That is the only thing that you have. And suddenly you get opportunities. People start liking you. Conversation starts happening. Doors opening. Doors, you know, everything. Relationships becoming, right? Everything starts happening. The real work is the inner work. The real work is the inner work, right? You cannot force action out of you. You can only, you know, it happens naturally. All you can do is change your state of being, and action starts happening on its own. And once the state changes, the action, desires, opportunities, people, experiences, everything naturally starts beginning, begin to changing with it, right? Now, whether someone agrees with Neville's teachings or not, this is a fascinating example of how identity, assumptions, attention, inner dialogue, and self-concept shapes the choices we make every single day. I hope I was able to convey my message to you, convey my teaching to you, and I would love to hear your own experiences and insights on this particular teaching. And see ya.